Hey there everybody, this is Dean Davis. I just wanted to share another quick little video. I saw a couple interesting channels on YouTube. That was Coffee Breaks and Will Schoder. Will Schoder, he has a video about the Zeigarnik effect. And this is where an example was a waitress would remember the orders until she actually gave the food over. So the idea that we have open loops in our mind, and then we prioritize them. So a writer that wants to continue writing leaves an idea incomplete, so that they have more desire to come back and finish it, or they would remember the state more. So this could this is applied to marketing, where they would just leave the idea just partially there, so then you have to go back and it's up to you to then say, hey, I don't, this is something that some percentage of people just cannot live with, the fact that there's something that it's incomplete. So I guess you could surmise that maybe this is one's temperament, you'd imagine, because I don't believe in free will, so I'm not thinking that somebody's like actually saying, okay, I want to choose this. So this is what is a doorway. It's the hidden sort of reality that we have in our mind. I mean, you can't choose your next thought, and there tends to be a luck of finding people who have different ideas on how you could just kind of come into the right idea. You have an environmental shift. So that's sort of the ontological design that you may have heard from people like Jason Silva, and that's what this whole beauty of YouTube really is for me. I'm going like, hey, I found Jason Silva a long time ago. I thought that he was really neat. I was able to show him in a little demo in my college course. You know, we had to do some little, we all had to get up and share a little something interesting, and it was so crazy because in my English class in college, 90% of people talked about failure. They all, I mean, not that failure is a bad thing, but I'm all about being, being contrarian when you can. You know, contrarian is seen as like a bad thing, but it's actually pretty hard to do sometimes. I mean, on average, you'd say most people aren't contrarians. So you don't want to do it just out of pure sport, but when you see that there's any sort of aspect that you're trying to bring information to each other, then that would be the worst time to not be a contrarian, because you'd want to be able to bring novel information to the average person. During the little college course that I had, it was just an English class, and we all had to do a little, get up there and give a presentation. And most of the people just talked about failure, like how you can get over failure, how failure isn't really a bad thing, you know. And I got up there and kind of talked a little bit about how we're insane, like, and not in. I mean, it was a lot more novel, and or it was more put together than just saying, hey, folks, we're insane. It was kind of more the fact that. Not to like just questioning the grading system in general, just saying how would we know whether the grading system is right, basically, even, you know. So that would be based on the trial and error, and I guess that would be an interesting form to bring in the value of failure, but it tackles it from a kind of a different view. And I didn't actually say the word failure or anything. It was just kind of recognizing that, hey, we should appreciate those that are just passionate about a particular idea, and then they want to go explore it. And basically, the idea that Bertrand Russell, he said that sanity is the synthesis of madness. So just the idea that even we don't have the full context of what sanity could be. I mean, the idea that when somebody's a genius, you know, it's like they've went and captured something that was otherwise confusing, or maybe even not even seen as relevant to some particular idea. So just the height of being able to find relevance, it would almost be something that would make you more likely to have something that others would maybe perceive as genius. So I compared that to the grading system. And I showed on how brought up a little thing on how at the college, it showed that you can get academic suspension, and how that's not really conducive. But yeah, I was able to play some Jason Silva in the background, and I think it was riveting, and people said that that was really neat. That was a person that I was able to remind them of. So when I see people like this, and I see people like Coffee Breaks, and he's going out there almost like the James Randi Foundation, where he put up the Millennial Prize, and it's like, or a little a crazy prize for somebody. It's like, you think you could prove magic? Well, I got $1 million for you. An offer with some bite, and nobody's been able to claim it because, you know, magic is, number one, you're crazy if you think you could even prove it, because that's something that you shouldn't even be. I mean, that's an argument for philosophy on whether, you know, you could use some sort of truth-based system to disprove itself in some particular fashion. So, like, they would say that, you know, at what point is something magic if it's replicable, you know, and you can see it. I mean, it's like, okay, well, that's just a shocking thing that goes on in nature. I mean, how many things can we just defer to magic for? But in any event, if I could just, if there's anybody else that's like me, you know, out there, I want to be able to point them into something that has some people with some character. So again, just check out Will Schoder and check out Coffee Breaks. These guys are pretty cool. I'm into the whole, I like watching the whole idea of the fake guru thing. I mean, I'm all about, like, being skeptical and trying to debunk. I mean, as a kid, I would try and debunk religion all the time. As growing up, I actually submitted arguments to William Lane Craig, and he replied, you know, because I had arguments against God's existence. And, you know, I look back at them now, and I was wrong on about half of them for sure. And then there's, so I can get into, you know, the nature of that, but the general idea of anything, the most important point is that we just don't have free will. So when you have an idea of somebody saying, hey, here's a Zeigarnik effect, this is how you can start controlling yourself. I mean, you're lucky if you find somebody who's going to talk about a cognitive bias that maybe you're prone to, or something that where you could have an interesting slight where you look at it and then you can apply something novel. Again, thank you so much if you've listened to all this. Hopefully have more soon. Thank you. Take care.